This action by Ghana to evacuate almost 300 of its citizens out of South Africa back to Accra, it may look like a regular evacuation, but behind it lies a crisis that is targeting migration policy, diplomatic relations, and the very idea of African unity. And now, with a 30th of June deadline looming, the countdown has officially begun. The panic gripping the immigrant community stems from an ultimatum from a citizen-led populist group known as the March movement. Well, that group has set a strict deadline of the 30th of June 2026. It's for all undocumented foreign nationals to leave South Africa. Well, they have openly threatened a massive nationwide shutdown and drastic actions if their demands are ignored. Organizers blame African immigrants for putting severe pressure on public infrastructure, worsening domestic unemployment, and driving up crime rates. Although the March movement leaders claim that they are only targeting illegal immigration, field reports indicate that documented refugees, business owners, and legal migrants are violently harassed, and they have their shops locked by mobs and are fleeing into hiding out of absolute fear. Well, Ghana responded by launching a state-funded evacuation operation, bringing home nearly 300 citizens on the first chartered flight from Johannesburg to Accra. Over 800 more Ghanaians have registered for these emergency evacuations, and additional flights are expected in the coming weeks. South Africa's Minister for International Relations and Cooperation, Ronald Lemola, he publicly downplayed the severity of the panic. Reacting directly to Ghana's flight, he stated, "We cannot stop anyone who wants to leave the country."
Yeah, there is a process with the Ghanaian High Commissioner in South Africa going through the list. And once that is done, it's voluntary repatriation. We can't stop anyone who wants to voluntarily leave the country. But we still have an obligation with those that will be remaining in South Africa, because that voluntary repatriation will not take all Ghanaians out of South Africa. There will be those that will be remaining. We have an obligation, and I want to also believe that the Ghanaian government also understand that that obligation should also be shared with them.
Now here's a development that is worthy of note. On the 25th of May, the government's Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster, it announced that the South African National Defence Forces and the police would be deployed on the 30th of June to prevent violence and also to stop citizens from illegally demanding IDs from foreigners. In a bizarre twist that was covered publicly and heavily by local outlets like All Africa, the SADC issued an official statement flatly denying their own ministry's briefing. They called the report of any army deployment false, unfounded, and deliberately misleading. Well, that institution fraction left the public deeply uncertain about who would actually keep the peace when that deadline arrives. Investigative journalists reporting from hotspots like Durban and KwaZulu-Natal have warned that the current hostile environment, they mirrored the violent social climate right before the catastrophic July 2021 crisis. Mobs in Durban have continued to block streets and force foreign merchants into hiding. Well, that situation has created a challenge for the government. They are trying to maintain public order while also protecting the rights and safety of all residents. Well, beyond South Africa, this crisis has sparked very interesting international reaction. Here in Nigeria, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, she officially summoned South Africa's acting High Commissioner to Nigeria, Lesoli Mechela. Well, she conveyed Nigeria's deep dissatisfaction regarding the rights infringements and also the xenophobic profiling. Abuja has also opened a voluntary reparatory registry, and over 130 Nigerians have signed up to immediately escape the hostile environment. Demonstrations were held earlier in Abuja, and one of such was led by the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students, and it was directed at the South African High Commission in Abuja. They even burnt a South African flag. Nigerian authorities have cautioned that retaliatory attacks on South African-owned businesses operating in Nigeria are not an option. Ghana, meanwhile, escalated the situation to the continental level, and it filed an official petition to the African Union It raised alarms over systemic xenophobic violence and urged continental leadership to reprimand South Africa for violating regional brotherhood agreement. I'm tracking this story for our newsroom, and it's one that continues to evolve, so much implications for migration, policy and regional development across the African continent. If these tensions continue to extend, it could affect trade, investment confidence and diplomatic relations across the continent. So it's not only going to affect South Africa. And with this June 30th deadline approaching, everyone is watching closely to see what happens next. These recent developments have sparked a fury of reactions. Some people are saying Ghana is doing too much and shouldn't have gone as far as evacuating its nationals. And some are saying Nigeria is not doing enough. What's your take on this? I'd like to hear your thoughts.